Hi, it's Jamie from Nexus VA, and I have been working on getting my clients GDPR compliant. And guess what? Most people are not GDPR compliant. This is a huge problem, basically because of the fines which can be levied on you if you are not GDPR compliant. It's a very big deal, and a lot of people are ignoring it, and you shouldn't be. There's a couple different elements to GDPR compliance that you should probably be aware of. GDPR compliance protects PII, personally identifiable information. So if you're not really familiar with the terminology surrounding GDPR, you want to get familiar with that right off the bat. So all of us who collect information from customers, potential customers, fans, etc., we have to protect their personally identifiable information. So what is personally identifiable information? That is an email address, a first name, last name, social security number, credit card number, really anything that can be used to identify who a person is. Where do you collect this PII? There's the obvious way, through a website, through your social media pages, and through services like MailChimp or any other newsletter type service where somebody fills out a form and gives you their information for a specific purpose. What we're going to talk about today are your websites, but there are still several other aspects of PII that you need to be aware of. For example, those of you that go to networking events, you may collect PII at networking events. Maybe there's a whole list of people that when they show up at the networking event, they write down their first name, last name, and email address, and you put that into your database. Well, now you have their PII, and you have to secure that information. And last but not least, when people come to your website and they're interacting with your third-party vendors, maybe it's MailChimp, maybe it's a CRM like Infusionsoft, maybe it's Google Analytics, you're tracking users on your site. Are they collecting PII, and are you responsible for making sure that their collection practices and storage practices and removal practices of PII are compliant with GDPR? I know, it's a ton of initials, and there's really a ton that needs to be done to be completely compliant with GDPR. But what this Google Hangout is discussing today is how to get your website compliant, because I think that that's probably step number one for most people, how to get your website GDPR compliant. So I'm going to show you one of my favorites, absolute favorite, I guess it's a club. They call it Wapika Club, but this is my favorite plugin for making your privacy policy GDPR compliant on your website. And the really cool thing about this plugin is it's pretty cheap, but you can also join as a member and get a ton of other plugins, themes, backgrounds, lots of things that you can use on your WordPress website. But we're going to discuss mainly the Wapika WordPress Legal Pages plugin because I absolutely love it. And you can literally, from the time you click on the link, go sign up at Wapika, download it, upload it, and set it up. It takes like 10 minutes, literally, to get your site compliant with GDPR as far as the policy page goes on your site. So if you look at my other videos that I have on YouTube, there's one about GDPR compliance. I walk you through the entire setup of downloading it, uploading it, and setting up your privacy policy. What's super cool about this is that in addition to the privacy policy, there's other policies that may open you up to liability on your website that you might not even be aware of and that you might not even be compliant with. California, if you have people visiting from California, you have to be compliant with their policies as well. So, GDPR is new, but having to have an updated privacy policy and protecting people's information and removing people's information has been around for quite a while. And you might not be compliant, and you're opening yourself up to litigation if you're not. So I really want you to be aware of the requirements. Even the cookies. Cookies are something that you need to notify people about, and it has a cookies template there too that you can set up in literally 2 minutes. So it's hugely valuable. So what's the point of this? What do you need to do? Okay, obviously, number one, you need to set up the download and set up the forms. You need to populate it with your website information. Then you need to make sure that you make the link to the privacy policy page available to anyone that visits your site. And you need to make sure you make it pretty prominent at your data collection points. What are data collection points? That would be your forms. So if you have any forms on your website, you need to make that really prominent on your forms, where people can go and look at your privacy policy and learn how to remove their data from your system easily. And that's key. Everything here has to be easy. It has to be consumer friendly. It can't be this legal jargon mumbo jumbo that the average person cannot understand. They wanted this simplified. They wanted people to be able to look at your privacy policy and quickly know what they're consenting to and how they can stop giving consent. And you have to comply as quickly as possible with the request to stop sending them things either through email or to remove them completely from your databases on your website. So let's just say that you've been collecting information all along from people. Some of them are in the European Union, some of them are not in the European Union. Well, what the heck do you do? Are you grandfathered in? Is it okay that maybe they didn't consent to all the newsletters that you've been sending them? No, it's not. GDPR is retroactive. So you need to quickly get consent from those people who are especially in the European Union to continue to send them or to store their personal identifying information. So how do you accomplish that? You send out an email. And the email should be an opt-in email. It should clearly describe what they're opting into. Don't lump things together. Not a newsletter, not marketing all together as one. You need to individually outline the purposes of your future communication with these people. And they need to be able to select it like in a checkbox type format and submit it to you. And then you have permission and are protected from GDPR litigation. So, okay, great. What happens if they don't respond? I personally don't recommend sending out another email. Now, this absolutely stinks because you've spent time and effort getting people onto your mailing list, and now that GDPR has come along and it's retroactive, if you can't quickly gain their consent to further communications or to storage of their PII, you have to purge it. Sorry, you have to purge it. It's not worth the risk of litigation from the European Union. It's not like Bob Smith down the road threatening you with some, small claims court case. This is the entire European Union, and they have a 20 million euro cap, or 4% of your, I believe, global proceeds, whichever is greater, that they can go after you for. Now, are they going to go after you, the one-person virtual assistant team, for 20 million euros? I don't think so, but I don't know so. So better to just purge those people from your databases completely if they don't quickly come into compliance with the GDPR form that you'll be sending them in your emails. So we've discussed you need the privacy policy on your website. You need to create it. You need to put links to the privacy policy on every page of your website. You especially need to make prominent links to your privacy policy at data collection points. You need to review your list and send out an email to those people, especially in the European Union. You might want to send it to everybody just to be safe so that they opt in to the list. And now that you have all of this information, you've purged the people that are no longer compliant under GDPR, what do you do with all that data? You need to protect it. So you need to make sure that your passwords are difficult. You can be liable if a hacker comes in, steals personally identifiable information from your database, and compromises people's PII. You are liable. If that should happen, God forbid, you need to immediately identify whose information has been compromised, and you also need to inform the legal authorities in the EU that PII has been compromised. This might save you from some litigation. It might not save you from some litigation. So who should be doing this then? Who needs to be responsible for this? Well, every business needs to set up a data management compliance officer. I believe that's the term that they use, or data compliance officer. You cannot outsource the data compliance officer position. You can outsource consulting on it. Like, for example, if you contacted Nexus VA and you said, hey, Jamie, I really don't understand this, and I'd like to pay you your hourly rate. You can tell me what I need to do. You can look over what I've done and tell me what I'm missing. You can do that, but you can't outsource it to me directly to do. You would either have to hire a VA as your data compliance officer, or you'd have to do it yourself and use somebody as a consultant. So that's important to know. You cannot outsource, as in you can't hire a company to do that. You would have to have a person on the payroll, not necessarily a W-2 as far as I know. This is something, of course, you should always ask a lawyer about, but to have somebody that's specifically a data compliance officer for your company. And who's always in charge of making sure that your privacy policies, your links, your email lists are all compliant with GDPR. So this is very important. You have to have that person at the helm who's going to make sure that your customers, visitors, subscribers, PII is always protected. So once you've accomplished all this, you are probably GDPR compliant. So with that being said, why should we even care? We're in the United States. How are they going to enforce it? I have no idea how they're going to enforce it here. All I know is I don't personally want to pay a lawyer and have to deal with any regulatory issues from a foreign entity. I got a feeling it's going to be expensive. So it's simpler for me to prevent any issues that would arise from my not being compliant. Being compliant is really easy. It will protect you from any issues here in the United States as well. Think of it as this is the toughest standard that you have to meet. And if you can meet this, then you'll meet any other legal challenge below it. And also, it's really important to keep people's information safe. I know that I've been the victim of several data breaches myself. I'm sure all of us at this point, Target, Bank of America, there's been tons of data breaches. Heck, I had my credit card data stolen at a gas station, and they racked up tens of thousands in charges on my credit card, which was a real pain to get off. So it's important that we protect people's PII and that people protect our PII. So it's always a good idea to be prepared and be vigilant and concerned The same way you'd want a company to be concerned about your PII, be concerned about your customers and clients and subscribers' PII as well. And with that being said, any third-party service that you use on your website that collects PII from your clients, let's say it's PayPal, for example, because most people use PayPal or maybe Stripe as a payment processor, you got to make sure that their privacy policies are also GDPR compliant, because you're funneling these people to these third-party vendors. Is WordPress GDPR compliant? Is MailChimp GDPR compliant? Is Vertical Response GDPR compliant? Is Infusionsoft? Is Greenrope? Entreport? You need to look up the privacy policies on all of these third-party vendors that you're using and confirm that they are indeed GDPR compliant. Now, I'm positive that some of these big ones are GDPR compliant. They've been GDPR compliant since they first got wind of it. But for your own protection, make sure, some of these smaller plugins that you've downloaded off of WordPress that are collecting PII from your site visitors, or maybe installing cookies on their site, you need to make sure they're GDPR compliant, or you need to remove them. And that's, once again, something that your data information officer or data compliance officer, whatever they're calling that position that you should have in your company, that they know that they're ready, that they can do it. Okay? So thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about GDPR. And if you haven't yet been compliant with GDPR, I hope that you will take the advice that you heard here and click on the link below. That links you up to the Wapika website, especially if you have a WordPress website. If not, there's other templates, but this to me is the best value that you're going to get as far as legal documents on your WordPress site are concerned. And let me know if you have any questions. We are standing by to consult with you if you have GDPR questions about your website, your emails, etc., etc. So thank you so much, and I hope this isn't the last live broadcast that we do. And I look forward to bringing you some more useful information for your business, for your virtual assistant business, and just for your online presence altogether. So thanks again for listening. Have a great day.